And I promised y'all last time that I had a very exciting returning guest coming to us on the channel today. And it is the one, the only, B. Dave Walters, DM extraordinaire, and specifically DM of the incredibly cool new show, Invitation to Party on G4 TV. You know I had to get him to come visit us and tell us everything that's happening. Please tell me that you're all cheering that loudly in the chat. B. Dave is doing the work of foleying it in for us here, but it's happening, I assume.
Yeah. The dozens and dozens of my fans are screaming right now.
You're gonna need a bigger counter. You're gonna need a much bigger pool, a dice bag full of fans to start counting as you go here, because you have been very busy. I'm gonna cheat. We had a first question come in before we even started, which was first question: how does he do it all?
You know, the dark side of the force is a pathway to many abilities that some would consider to be unnatural. Yeah, it's just you know, honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all something, because people do ask me this all the time. There's only one thing that every single human being on Earth is equal in, and that is time. We've all got 168 hours in a week. We're not all the same size, not all the same intelligence, don't have as much money, but we've all got 168 hours in a week, and there is time to do it all if you manage it right.
You put like a very Liv Tyler and Empire Records kind of vibe there, but you know,
I just need to point. I need to point out early, while everybody is well. I mean, hey, you could get 8 hours of sleep a night. That's only 56 hours. You still got 110, 112 left. You still could do it. Don't get me wrong. I don't get 8 hours of sleep a night, but you could.
Need sleep.
Eventually. Although I do need to point out, we're rocking the same uniform here. There you go.
Heck yeah.
This is we did not coordinate this. It was purely by chance. I was telling Amy I was gonna wear the new one, and she said she doesn't have the new one. That's the new new Lambert House shirt. Yeah. So these are all, if you don't know, they are fundraisers for Lambert House. You can get them at mtg.com/pride. And they go towards helping at-risk youth and making a difference in the world. And then apparently all the cool kids have them. So there you go.
I love it. It's honestly one of my favorite designs they've done, and I'd be buying them anyway, let's be honest, but it helps that they're gorgeous. So well done to the folks who put those together. I got to figure out how to get my hands on one of those. And I will get myself back on topic, because B. Dave Walters, what is Invitation to Party?
The first TTRPG on television. That's what we are. Which is wild, because there's not a lot of firsts left in this world. So getting to be the first to do something has been an amazing blessing. It is kind of D&D / improv / LARP, which is almost reverse that. It is almost a LARP / improv / D&D. We're on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific. We're live on G4, Twitch, and YouTube. And then Mondays at 3, it comes on television. We've done 4 episodes. This week is episode 5. Bria Iyengar is coming on as a guest this week. So it's a good time to jump in. It's going to be, this was going to be interesting. And the thing that sets this show apart, besides being on the structural confines of being on television, let us say, is we have a big circle in the middle, where we come in and we do scenes live. We get up and move around and interact with each other and have props and things. And so we're untethered from just sitting at the desk, like we're pretty used to historically, but we get up and we're free range, and it's a lot of fun.
I've been very impressed by the circle, and I was curious when we get to deep dive into format of the show, like where the planning came in and all of this. But specifically, I'm excited about the element of Invitation to Party, which is potentially bringing this to some folks who might not ever have had a chance to see D&D in action in the way that we all love it. And obviously, you've made some modifications for TV, but was that part of the goal with this? Is it a happy side effect?
Expressly. It expressly was to reach new audiences while hopefully serving the existing audience, but getting to people that did not know what this was, because we were one of the launch shows on G4, so it was while the network was identifying, what it was going to be for the new generation, because a lot of us have nostalgia for the old one. Those of us that were there
Many
for it,
fond
we're
memories, but
getting
not enough D&D on the old G4.
zero D&D on the old G4. So, having being at launch, being one of the things that was going to show that G4 was going to be about all kinds of gaming, not just video gaming. And in bringing this to people who've never done it, and the majority of our audience are people that don't watch other shows. And the comment I see the most often, which is my favorite comment, is, I've never seen D&D, I've never played D&D, but now I want to. And
Yay!
I'm like, welcome, come join us. There's room at the table for you. I mean, you guys are watching us talk
Absolutely.
about this. You're already on the inside, but it has been great to expand it outward. So much so, I well, I was about to say something, but the NDA lasers will start appearing all over me here. So, never
No one
mind.
can hear you. No,
That's true.
this is a
Only the internet, Amy Dallen.
the internet
Only
would
the
never
internet
share a
can hear me.
secret. I don't know what you're
Never.
talking about.
No, of course not. Course not. Course not. You'll find out
All
soon. It'll be
right,
something
all
fun.
right. I will
It's
climb off of my
I
shoulder devil persona there.
No, hey, I'll tell you when we're done filming, though. Yeah, okay. I mean, I won't tell you after we're done filming.
I don't think we do bluff checks anymore. I don't think that's what they're called, but that's what's happening.
It's not.
Um,
Yeah.
but tell me about your cast on Invitation to Party, because you have some fabulous players in addition to the guests you've been bringing by.
We have Cassim G, who is playing Igneous Castle Lantern, who is a returning noble with a secret. We have Fiona Nova, who is playing Ollie the Harengon.
I was so happy to
Who
see a
is
Harengon in the mix. Like, that's it delights my heart.
when we were going through it, because Cassim and Fiona had never played ever. And so I just laid everything out for him, and I kind of gave him the elevator pitch of all the different races. And she's like, a rabbit person? I want to do that. I was like, all right, hey, let's go rabbit people. I told her later that I was like, they're brand new and you're kind of one of the first iconic Harengon. And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, there you go. You did it. Um, if he Wadaway, friend of the channel, is playing Thorby Kontiki, who is a sword bard. And I have to make sure I get Frost's billing right. Indiana Frost Karen Black is playing Octavia Amastasia, who is a Dhampir rogue. And then Xander, who has guested with us a couple of times, is playing Truvail, which is a halfling cleric of Tamora, the goddess of luck. And then Abria is playing Redacted.
Oh, we almost got it, chat. We
You almost
almost
did,
got the
yeah.
secrets.
I'm slippery. And Jasmine Bular has been on with us also, and she played in iconic character from D&D named Shindia Dark Eyes, who is a half drow that works for the Xanathar. So when she was on, that was the character she played.
Because you chose Waterdeep as the setting for this one.
I did. There was pretty much up until pretty close to when we started, we were doing a different thing in a different setting. And I was very prepared for that, was pretty deep in prep for the other setting. And then the call came down from on high. No, we want it to be the Forgotten Realms, because it's the most D&D of D&D. When people are saying I'm playing D&D, you're playing the Forgotten Realms. Like, unless you're overtly playing Ravenloft or Eberron or Homebrew, like you're playing Forgotten Realms. So I went back to them, and I was like, well, I could do it. I could do Waterdeep. I could do Neverwinter. I could do Baldur's Gate. You tell me what you want. And they basically were like, no, you tell us what you want. And I was like, well, Waterdeep is the New York City of D&D. There's 2 million sentients there. Like, you can tell 1,000 stories in that place. So that was why I chose Waterdeep. What's funny, I don't know if you can see in the background over there, one of my alternate covers for Dungeons and Dragons: A Dark and Wish, which, for the record, Amy Dallen was the first person ever to play Helene ever at D&D in a castle. That is true. Um, it
Huge
did
honor,
happen.
huge honor.
I expressly did not want to tell the story in Waterdeep because I was like, you won't let me burn Waterdeep to the ground. You know what I mean? Like I can't really leave a mark on this place. So I did not want to do it there. But here, where that's not really what I envision this story being about. I mean, y'all all know me. I will set Waterdeep on fire. Don't test me. But I
And
don't.
never question the player's ability to set Waterdeep on fire. If they really put their minds to it.
Correct. Also correct. So but it was I just wanted to be able to have it as a backdrop from which we could do literally anything. And I think in the fullness of time as the show goes on, obviously if we're blessed to do it, please tune in and watch so we can keep doing it. They may travel to some of those places. They may go to Baldur's Gate or they may go to Neverwinter and, get an idea how the other half lives. Um, but I was just approaching it from the standpoint again of people that don't know what this is. It's easier to get your head around this is fantasy New York. You know what I mean? So versus because the Neverwinter, you got to be like, well, there's like a big like the mid chunk of the middle of it's kind of blown out because some terrible stuff happened. Also, don't go near there because bad things come out of it. Like a lot of other stuff. You know what I
There's
mean?
some stuff
Comes
you
in.
need to know, really.
Right, right, right.
I
Versus
will
like
say,
Waterdeep. Oh yeah, no, please.
oh no, no, versus Waterdeep.
I was like, you're hey, fantasy New York, uh, super big graveyard over there, freaky big dungeon underneath. Welcome aboard, enjoy your stay.
um, so with that cast, I will say, if folks watch the show for no other reason, and there are 1,000 reasons you should watch it, but watching Iffy be a bard, I think ranks just extremely high on the list of reasons that you don't want to miss this one. But I noticed, like, from the jump, you may have a couple of brand new players, but they felt very comfortable. Did y'all do a lot of practice beforehand? Were they just stepping into it really naturally because they're great performers? Accommodation?
We did so much prep, and they
Mm.
were really great sports about it. And again, for some of us, we've been playing this game longer than we can remember. I've been playing this game longer than some of them have been alive. So I got 5 different editions of it floating around in my mind. I'm just used to it. But when you have no point of reference, it's a lot to keep track of and a lot to a lot to try and wrap your head around. So we did 3 or 4, maybe even 5 session 0 campaigns, but I made it lore to the characters of it. Like
Mhm.
these are real things that have happened to you. So it was helping them discover who these characters were along the way. You know what I mean? It was both yes, learning the game, but also we're gonna have some context for when the show starts. The show starts
Yeah.
with them being in jail for having killed someone. They really did kill that person in session 0. The very first game, they really did knock that guy into the yawning portal. And so I brought all of that back around to like, that's why you're in jail now for a murder
That would
you
explain why
committed
they
in front
all
of like
seem to
40
agree on whose
witnesses.
fault it was pretty easily.
Yes,
Hmm?
because it actually happened. Yeah, no, I think she rolled a 1 on an athletics check, and I was like, "You don't." Yep. And so, but I've been able to kind of draw on some of that stuff narratively, and it's good. We're gonna draw on some more of it on Friday of things that that had happened to them before the cameras were rolling. So it was it helped them know who these people were because that's kind of what I kept trying to reinforce that yes, it's important that you know the game, at least in broad strokes, but if you have questions, ask me questions. Like I'm not worried about answering your questions because the reality is if you have a question, someone in the audience has that question. And I'm going to answer it in such a way that I'm not going to make you look stupid. Don't worry about that. If you're like, which die do I roll? It's okay. I will tell you. I will explain
Nobody's
magic
born
missile
knowing that.
every episode. Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm like, that's not the problem. What I need you guys to do is you have to show up with 4 fully formed individuals that the audience is going to give a damn about. That I cannot do for you. You know what I mean? Like I can set the scene, but you all have to show up in it. And they have. So that's It's really great seeing their confidence increase every week. I'm not gonna bust anybody out by name, but this last week, one of them came up to me and was like, "Ooh, can I do this? Or can I have a scene where this happens?" And I'm like, "That hadn't happened before." And I was like, "Yes, you can. Yes, we can do that. Absolutely." Um,
Ah,
and even when I invited Xander to come be on the show, Xander Jean Ray, who's incredible, um, I expressly asked him, I was like, push it, push it. Because if you push the limits of what we can do in this medium, they're going to see what's possible in this medium. Like the it's what the freaking 100th monkey thing. The first monkey to go and wash his fruit, the other monkey are like, that's a thing we can do. We don't just have to eat sand fruit. Oh, okay. So yeah. Mhm.
I love that. So with some of the trying to make it as easy as possible to get into, but show off the full range of what the game can do, while also doing live television, is a pretty moving
Yeah,
target
that's
kind
all.
of.
NBD.
So
Yep.
I'm curious, like format wise, how did y'all hit on the circle?
So when I came into the production, what they knew is they wanted to do a very heavy improv version of D&D. And they had the circle and how the two desks were going to be. Like
Mhm.
that was what we had. So the idea we're going to come into the circle and act stuff out was already had been decided on when I arrived. And then it became more about how are we going to implement this? What does that look like? And things like I came up with the deck, for instance, because I'm like, well, we can't roll dice in the circle, but there's still going to be times that we need an element of chance, for instance.
I'm
Um,
actually going to pause you
w-
here because Hermit Sorry said, "Why did you decide to use the deck in addition to dice on invitation to party? And did you anticipate how much the party would fear it?"
uh, because we couldn't roll dice in the middle of the circle, and I didn't want to break things to like stop and go back to the desk and roll. So I wanted something we could do on the fly. I absolutely didn't anticipate them fearing it this much or failing this much, and I love both of those things. you know, um, just watching Jasmine's face when she's like, "I'm supposed to be this incredible assassin," and I'm like, "Fate says not tonight, though. Fate says not." You know, um, so that was a lot of fun, and there was some people that were part of the show panicked after that, being like, "Oh no, if they fail, that's bad." And I'm like, "No, the audience is going to love it. Trust me, the audience will love it." And they did. And I mean, not everybody felt that way. Other people were like, "No, this is great." But some people very much were like, "Oh no, they didn't succeed. They lost the game." And it's like, "No, that's not how this works. That's not how this works." Um, so that's been fun, and we're always looking for new ways to utilize the format, to use the circle, to use the improv elements of it, especially the more comfortable everyone gets. And I mean everyone, the cast, me, the crew, the camera people, everybody's finding their sea legs, because this is 1,000% new. um, the more complex and complicated things we could do. Like that dream sequence with Igneous, I thought of the night before. It was like, I want to do this thing. And I told them I want to do this thing. And the production crew was like, well, we could do some like cool light or something while he's dreaming. And I was like, yeah, okay. And they were like, oh, we could do like a cool light. You could be like hiding in the shadows behind him. And I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. And it just worked out really, really great. Yeah, so that kind of
Ah,
stuff, pushing the envelope.
and I love that. So some of us have been lucky enough to do D&D in front of a live audience or to stream games, but in general, streaming a game with a live studio audience is not something I have seen. What has that been like?
It's a lot of fun because initially, I told the crew that there was times that I would do this like call and response thing where the bad guys talking to the other bad guys, and hey, isn't that right? And I'm like, feel free to boo and hiss, yay or whatever. And the crew, who are all consummate professionals, are used to having to be quiet and be out of the way. So I would be like, "Isn't that right?" And they're like, right, "Yeah, that's right, right here." And I'm like, "No, come on." So having the audience be there for that kind of stuff, because then the audience, the same thing happens with the audience. The first time I'm like, isn't that right? And they're like, I'm like, isn't that right? They're like, ah, like they don't know they get to participate also. So it makes the whole environment very festive. It makes it easier for everyone to loosen up when everybody's kind of playing along.
I love that. As you're sort of working in a space of bringing it to new folks, to working with new players, to like even just things like behind the scenes, helping people get a sense of that you don't lose at D&D. You just have interesting
Mhm,
stories, which is easy if you're a longtime TTRPG person. It's easy to forget that that's a concept you have to encounter at some point.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
have there been questions or things that came up that made you rethink your assumptions about how the game could go?
I've been blessed to do this a lot, and I've been blessed to do it with a lot of new people, so I've kinda heard it all, but
Hmm.
yes, there is an aspect of one of their character concepts that is yet to be revealed. When they were like, "Can I do this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." You know, like, it's not I I'm like, "I wouldn't yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah." So, that sort of thing. In just, at the end of the day, well, I'll tell you another thing that did come up is, a lot of the burden of this has been simplifying the game, just make it move along, because obviously we all know D&D can get a little crunchy, and it's easy to get bogged down in the crunch. Um, so there was a push from the beginning to simplify it as much as possible. That even from Watsy on down, being like, make it as simple as possible, simple as possible. And there was times that I was the one who had to be like, no, we cannot do away with that thing. Like that is core to what D&D is. We must have that thing type
There's some
stuff.
baby in
And
that
I'm like,
bathwater. Let's get it back.
exactly, exactly. Well, because I'm like, past a certain point, it's no longer Dungeons and Dragons. It's just the super happy fantasy improv fun hour. I'm all like, no,
Which,
there's
to be
there's
fair, can be fun, just a different thing.
true, but that's not what they send me in there to do, though. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm like, there's things that still make the game. And those pillars are kind of immovable. In finding what those load bearing pillars were, I didn't necessarily know until I was asked to remove some of them, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Yeah.
I am curious. Not everyone will be applying this in a TV studio environment, but lots and lots of those of us who run games are going to be introducing new folks at some point, are going to
Mhm,
potentially have, for a variety of reasons, a desire to simplify or streamline the game. Let's say you have a time crunch, or
mhm,
much older or much younger players who might be
mhm,
looking for different things out of the experience. There's a million reasons it could come up. Do you have any
mhm.
advice that you would give for folks who are walking down a road of needing to strip it down a little bit?
Specifically with D&D, like, because when people have never played games or don't understand what I do, um, or I will always ask them, like, "What's your favorite book? What's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite movie? How would you like to live it?" That's what we do. And then I'm like, "Do you like the Lord? Do you watch Lord of the Rings? You like Lord of the Rings? Cool. Who was your favorite character in Lord of the Rings? Legolas? Would you like to be Legolas? Cool. You're an Elven Ranger. Now you're an Elven Ranger. Hey, the Elven Rangers are good at you're great with a bow and arrow, you're great at tracking, and you're very sneaky. Okay. So you find yourself in a forest, and as you look around, you hear a rustling in the bushes over there. What would you like to do? And they're like, well, I'd like to look in the bushes. Well, now we're playing, you know? And then it's like, I want to shoot an arrow at the bush. And then I'm like, we're just going to roll one die. No modifiers, nothing. And you don't tell them the number. They just roll it. You look and you're like, mm, 4. That's not going to be quite enough. The arrow flies a little to the left, and the biggest, juiciest bunny you've ever seen in your life comes barreling out of the bushes, running the other direction. What would you like to do? And then now you're in it. You know what I mean? Now you're in it.
Mhm,
Don't
mhm.
don't 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 get overly burdened um by the setup. It is more important that they get in and start making those decisions. What you'll find, and this was interesting because this was something Fiona Nova shared with me, that as a video game player, first and foremost, she actually found video games to be a hindrance, because video games have rails. you've still
Mhm.
got your objective. You've still got the quest you're on. You know, go get 6 rats. You know, like go literally right over there where the rats spawn and get 6 of them. You know what I mean? And come back and you've completed the quest. While D&D absolutely has a component of that for sure. I mean, plenty of us have had to go get rats out of the basement type deal. But for the most part, it's a blank canvas. You know, that if
Mhm.
it's like, well, find me 6 rats. Well, where are the rats? You tell me where the rats are. It's like, what? You know, where's the rat spawn point? You know, you know what I mean? Like that thinking, you know what I mean? Which is interesting because I mean, I definitely played video games earlier than I played D&D, but video games were kind of in their infancy. So those things were
Mhm.
always kind of in parallel for me. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like there was never one time that I was super into one of those things and not the other thing.
Right.
But I get it. Once she actually said it out loud, I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense because I'm always telling people that's why video games will never completely replace TTRPGs because no matter how good they get, no matter how good the AIs get, no matter how big the sandbox gets, there's still going to be rails. There's
Mm.
you can't decide to join the bad guy. You know, you're like, this dragon's making a lot of sense. I'm on the dragon side now. you know, and you're like, what? You're like, yeah, join the dragon. Yeah, I'm Team
The
Dragon.
trade-off
No,
for someone
no,
having
yeah,
designed all of these incredible possibilities is that by definition those possibilities can't be infinite. Or if they are infinite, they can't support the kind of like, you can either have a, completely open building game or a heavy story game, but it is very hard to do both at the same time. And
exactly. You know,
TTRPGs are kind of both at the same time.
yeah, you know, you go on the raid, you know, where you're going to attack the monster, but maybe one person can talk it out with the monster and solve it totally diplomatically, or seduce the monster, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
I mean, video
there's so
games are
many
trying to
ways.
catch up on the whole seduce the monster front. I feel like they've made some
Right.
significant progress in the last few years. But
True. Right.
TTRPGs have the
Right.
edge. Mhm.
Then they
I'm
always will. Yep.
I am curious, just this is like sort of a hyper detailed question, but playing with
Mhm.
folks who are heavily familiar with video games, do you find that there is a trade off of they might not know as much about how the dice rolling works, but they might be less frightened by the idea of mechanics if they're the kind of people who already have like a preferred Destiny build that they've spent 60 hours fine tuning, and they're like, because there are certain elements of I understand I have a weird mix of strengths and weaknesses that I can fine tune that will scare off a non-video gamer, but might entice a video gamer.
As of now, they're new enough that none of them have become min-maxers. When I come back and talk about this again, I may have created some monsters, and we'll find out. You know, we'll find out. If I had to wager a guess, I think it'd be Cassim and Frosk. That are the ones that go that way. Fiona might surprise
And,
me. I don't think that's ever gonna be Fiona's jam, but the two of them, they might. Because I see the wheels in Cassim's head turning.
like, also, like
Yeah.
if you're playing a rogue, I think that the sweets of sneak attack will sort of entice you
Yeah.
down that road if they
Hmm.
are not already doing so. But
That you were like, I can set circumstances up where I hit really, really hard. Oh, okay. I will. Well, I will. I'll give Cassim this credit too. He went through and was messing around with different spells and switched his spells around. And he unloaded Eldritch Blast for True Strike, which me, the snob, I was like, I cannot allow you to do this, Cassim. I mean, you can, but I cannot, in good conscience, being the person who is teaching you how to warlock, advise that you do this. You- and he's like, I just want to try something new. I'm like, no, hey, you can kick all those tires. Eh, keep Eldritch Blast loaded though. you know, it's a thing you do. It's a
that's
thing you do.
the
Yeah. Mhm.
the basic. That's the sign of a player who is flexing their power with the tools and trying to
Yep.
find things out. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful
To
thing to find out. Even if you end up deciding that you like Eldritch Blast and would like to keep it. You know,
if absolutely nothing else, you'll know why you want to keep Eldritch Blast instead of True Strike, you know, from experiential knowledge. And so to your point, you know, he's the first baby bird that is like looking over the edge of the nest there, being like, what happens if I just jump? You know, but what I find is there's a ton of enthusiasm from all of the G4 hosts to just try it. Everybody just wants to try it. Everybody's like, ooh, when can I come on the show? And I'm like, literally whenever. Let's look it up. Also, Amy Dallen, you got to come on the show. You're local, you know. Let you,
I would be
I'll
honored.
let you play whatever you want. Hmm. You heard it. I said it. I said it out
Secret
loud on the
villain of
internet,
the
and I would get
campaign. Gotcha, gotcha.
dun 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 dun. No one would suspect you because you're so wonderful, and they're all like, "This is all. Everything's gonna be fine." And then just the red lightsaber comes out, and you're like, "What, Ma- Master Darlin? What do
Speaking
we
of
do? There's too many of them."
the dark side of the force, indeed, coming out. It would very much be my honor, but please don't think that I am forcing you to invite me by getting you on the show. But also, yes.
No,
Um,
Hey, first of all, I already been on the show. No, no, we're already long since old friends here. This is me being a fan of you. And you got to do it. Imagine if you had to play like Umberly or something, and be like really mean. I don't know, Chad. Y'all want to see Amy Dallen play Umberly? Y'all know I'll do it. You know I'll do it.
I don't. Can I do it to new players? I don't know. It's
You were-
All right, you have
you
thoroughly
you
distracted me.
You were
Sorry,
I'm just
what?
gonna say you're the sweetest human, but the moment you get that first taste of fear and power in their eyes, it's like Yep.
Taking notes, excellent
Hmm.
possibilities. Let's see. So we've talked a little bit about what new audiences might get out of this and what maybe
Hmm.
makes it different for folks for longtime D&D watchers, what makes this one a little bit different. But is there anything else that like if you've been watching actual plays for a decade and playing for several decades and all of this,
Hmm.
what does invitation to party specifically bring to the table that you might be able to hint at for folks who what haven't we seen yet?
People have been trying to figure out a way to stream LARP for a really long time,
Mm.
or capture the experiential element of what a live action role play is like. Which,
And there've
on the
been
off
some
chance
great
that you don't know,
experiments in that
yeah.
direction. Just hats off
Hmm.
to I've seen some really wonderful work done towards that
Hmm.
end.
Hmm. Live action role play is when you physically embody your character. Like, you come into a room and it's like, this is the tavern. We are now all in the tavern, and you do what you do. The hardest part about filming LARP is so much of it is happening in real time. If I'm talking to you and two people are talking over there, a person's attending, you got to follow one or the other. And then if you've got cameras and stuff, it's just difficult. So um LA by Night, we pushed a lot heavily towards the LARP side of things. And even though we were seated, we were so deep in character, and there was whole episodes where we never rolled dice. We were just doing our thing. LA by Night is a borderline soap opera. So I think we've I can't say we've 100% captured it, because I think past a certain point, the thing is the thing. It's the fact that 25 of us are in here living this experience. But I think we've captured enough of a slice of it, um, that can get across to people why LARP is cool and why LARP is worth pursuing,
Mm,
why it's fun. Um, I also think you'll see, for veterans, new ways to tell the stories at your table, even if it's just including very minimal amounts of physicality, just little things that, even if you're at your chair, but you stand up at your chair, if you, the DM, get up and walk around while you're talking, you can do all those things. You always can. I mean, when we're like here on Zoom and things like that, we're a little constrained. But I mean, as the world is restarting and we're getting back together, you can see that there. um, you can also see, for people that really know, there's a lot of old school nods that I sprinkle in here that new people it won't mean anything to, but for people that have been at it a while, when I mentioned Mintiper Moonsilver, Shindia Dark Eyes, Lael Silverhand, um, Durnan talking about the fact that the Yawning Portal is built on the ruins of Kelvin Blackstaff's tower. Like, those are things I just mention in passing, but when that means something to you, when they start talking about the Eye and the Guild, like, I could see in chat people who knew who Xanathar was were like, "Oh!" And the other people are like, "What? Huh?" I mean, and having that discovery come along, all of that stuff is a lot of fun, because I mean, for people who they know, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the show yet, but they're being pulled in three different directions by three very different interested parties. that I've set up in the show so they understand. But if you've been at this a while and you're steeped in all the context, you know really just how big of a mess they're in because it's a big mess. Like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
A famously easy to deal with place, Waterdeep. Never any complications.
Yeah. No, it's fine. You just come in, hop off the boat, have a good time, see some giant statues that probably won't move, and then leave and go home. Yeah. Silky
I love
smooth
that.
and uneventful.
And that's obviously the optimal scenario is if you don't know who Xanathar is, you're getting cool hints, and if you do, you're having a private freak out. Like that's a fun mode to be in as a storyteller, I think at any time. Um
I like to play the long con, man. I did a thing in the Black Dice Society that took 30 episodes to pay off. Something I set in motion in episode 1 paid off in episode 30. So I'm like, you never know. You never know how when it what goes up must come down though at the moment you least expect it.
and by the way, big congratulations on that, on the latest season of LA by Night, on all of the good stuff that you are providing all of us to keep us going, as nerds in the world. Always appreciated.
It's been fun to do. I'm very fortunate to get to do what I do.
If you have more questions for me, Dave, please pop those in the chat. The mods are feeding them to me. But okay, I'm going to shoulder devil again just a little bit because looking forward in Invitation to Party, what,
Mhm.
if anything, can you tease for us about what's coming our way?
More really cool guests. Um Although it is a comedy show, some not funny things are going to happen. That's necessary, because comedy is tragedy plus time. Um, Hopefully, more iconic characters, maybe some very iconic characters. A pretty significant twist that I hope no one sees coming, but now I've sort of tipped my hand by telling you that there is one. And I think it's gonna be a really fun time that you will enjoy taking this journey with these characters. Yeah. I will tell you this, one of the most complex parts of this, because it's television, is how far in advance it has to be planned.
Mm.
But with TTRPGs, they're living, breathing things. And I
Hmm.
keep telling them that I'm like, they're like, so what are we gonna do? And I was like, well, here's what's the 12 episodes I envision. I have no idea if this is what is actually going to happen. Like I literally wrote that in bold at the top of the outline that I'm like, this is my plan, but the dice and the kit players may have other plans. And sure enough, what's going to happen tomorrow is vastly different than from what was planned for episode 5. Vastly different. So one of the things that I gotta do now over the break is sort of like kind of recalibrate. Like, well, based on this, now we're going here for this first 12 episode arc.
That's exciting. So, okay, 12 in this first set?
Hmm. 12 in the first arc.
Excellent.
Hmm.
Y'all, that
Hmm.
means
Yep.
plenty of time to get on board with the first season. I'm just going to go ahead and call it of Invitation to Party.
It's a pretty easy binge. It's a pretty easy binge because it's a 2-hour show, and with the breaks ends up being like about an hour and 45 minutes, which anyone who has run a game knows that is no time in a
Zips along.
TTRPG. That is
Yeah, yeah,
no
yeah.
time. So it is kind of it's a very snappy show to get caught up on. I'll tell you that. That's an advantage of it. It's yeah, it's interesting. Again, I think the biggest obstacle, the two most challenging things are trying to plan as far out as we must because of what television requires, and the breaks because it's on TV. So finding moments, multiple times over the course of an episode that will keep both the audience and the cast engaged to keep like finding those moments to come up. That is not easy. That's not easy. But
You make it look easy, but as a DM, I can imagine it is not.
it's, and that was actually kind of one of the things that I had to explain. I was like, I realize I make this look easy. It isn't. No, like, okay. Understand, there's a lot is happening here, but it's good though because again it makes it move quickly and it never lags. I mean, I try even with the Black Dice Society where I have 3 unbroken hours, which let me just say as an aside, y'all, I'm the dungeon master of the official D&D horror show and the official D&D comedy show. So if I can do it, you can do it. Impossible is nothing. Don't let anybody tell you what can't be done, okay? Never. Don't let anybody tell you what can't be done. But even in those things, I try never to let the story lag too much because I want scenes to have time to breathe. But my thing is, an example I always give, this is way back in the early 2000s, when Vince McMahon bought WCW, when he bought his competition. And I watched an interview with Vince, and they said, well, you won. You don't have any more competition. And he said, no, my competition is everything else they could be doing. Like they
Mm.
can't watch WCW, but they might want to watch football or go to the movies or take a walk or read a book or spend time with their family. Literally everything else. So
I will defeat
that
their
informs,
families in single combat.
but that's kind of informs my storytelling though, in the sense that I'm like, if a human being is going to stop and take 2 or 3 hours to watch what we're doing, I want to make it worthwhile. So that's
Sure.
why I kind of try and and like let's go. In fact, we got the Black Dice Society holiday episode tonight at 4 Pacific on D&D, Twitch, and YouTube. Coming back for some spooky goodness for the Yuletide season.
And nothing says the holidays like some terrifying shenanigans.
I mean,
Oh,
does that
it's
not
so
scream
beautiful
holidays to you? Yeah, it's yeah,
if you're
it's
doing it right.
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And it's funny.
I do have.
Everybody's like, ooh, it's gonna be Krampus. I'm like, actually, I don't know if it's gonna be Krampus or not. You got to tune in and see. Mhm.
I have some questions from chat. First off, from
Hey.
Armand Aaron Lower, what dinosaur do you want to release on your invitation to party players?
So velociraptors have a near and dear place in my heart. Um,
Movie size ones or like history size ones or both?
well, Utah raptors were movie sized. Velociraptors were like wolf size. You're correct. Um,
And both are great.
it
I'm into both options.
you know it depends on whether or not. First of all, I love this question. It depends on whether or not the dinosaur is there to do a harm or not. I will say, in a Dark and Wish, the stream we did for that, they came to Waterdeep, and there was a merchant from Chult that was selling little baby triceratops and like little and they had a little baby triceratops with them. I might bring that back. I legit might bring back the merchant from Chult that is selling baby dinosaurs and give them like a little pet. That's true. That, you know what? If I do this in the show, wait, which mod was this?
This was Aaron
Which
Lore.
mod? Aaron Lore, I want you to know, if they get a pet dinosaur, that was on you from right now, from this moment. I want you to know that. Yep.
Oh, and is there a sweeter moment than the first time you're in a TTRPG and discover you can have pets?
Especially when they're pet dinosaurs. Yeah, no, I'm with you. That is a unilateral win. Yeah, yeah. That's
We also have
and
a
may
question here from. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and then sometime along the way, they got to sail back to Chult. They're gonna run into Mama Dinosaur because I'm still me. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
W3 asks, as Waterdeep has so much that has been recently rendered canon in official Wizards of the Coast products, do you think you'll use those as story elements, like Ack Inc. having headquarters there, or the events of the Dragon Heist being reflected?
The events of the Dragon Heist, absolutely. Ack Inc. NDA bullets. I will say, um, I was gonna say I'm beholden to canon, but that's the wrong thing because it makes it seem like it's something I don't like. Um,
Mm,
I'm I'm trying to show Waterdeep as it is, I mean, innately it's a fantasy thing. But like for instance, the Mass Lords of Waterdeep are a big part of our story. I hit up Watsy and I was like, who are the Mass Lords right now? I got a list of names from them. Um, it was funny because they were like, but, you know, so um, things like that. The things I want to do, I bounce off of them. I mean, again, I've been doing this a long time. I've been working with Watsy for a while. We did a Dark and Wish. We've done all these streams. I mean, I kind of have an innate sense of what will and won't fly, so it's pretty painless. It's like, can Laeral Silverhand show up? Yes. Can Laeral Silverhand ask them to do something? Absolutely. Can Laeral Silverhand secretly be a cannibal mass murderer? No. So
That might
I get
complicate
it.
things just a little.
You know, can't say I didn't try. But yeah. So it's yeah. I am always trying to stick to the canon as much as possible.
I love that. What have you, B Dave, personally, as you conquer all of these various realms, what have you never gotten to do that you would love to?
It sounds so lame when I say it that it's like I get to do most of the things I want to do. Or if there's something I want to do, I do it. I haven't had Amy Dallen on invitation to party yet. That's a hill I've yet to conquer. That hadn't
Thank you.
happened.
I just fished for that compliment so successfully. An amazing job.
um,
Okay, too much coffee painting, and you can't answer this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Too much coffee painting. Will Omen Drawn be one of the masked lords?
of course, I can't answer.
Sometimes it's
Just
fun to pass on the
stay tuned
questions I
and find
know.
out. Oh
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, 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 no. You don't have to filter. You can shoot them right at me here. I will say you said what's something I want to do that I haven't done. I mentioned so I had V Muse on interviewing her on my little talk show, Demi Planer, and I mentioned as a gag that I would run 2 tables simultaneously for charity, that I would do a D&D game and a vampire game at the same time just to prove that I could. That's something I haven't done. That's something I would be willing to try. I know I could do it. I know I could do it. Mhm. Mhm, mhm, mhm.
I would very much like to see that because it is tremendously difficult to imagine. Uh, what B
I've
Dave?
even just tried to figure out the freaking logistics. I mean, I'm like, where would I put people? But
Yeah,
besides
who's
that's the
talking?
hard
Where
part.
do you stand?
Yeah.
Mix them in with each other. Make it just super hard mode. Um,
We'll
what
do
is
we'll
your
do no, no, please.
Yeah, what well, just this is a question from me. Um, Dave, what is your favorite thing as a DM in a game? The moment that you're like, this is why I show up.
I'm gonna answer, and the answer's gonna sound terrible, and then I'm going to explain why it's the answer.
Great, love it.
It's when someone cries.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be sad tears. It can be happy tears, but when someone cries, because I believe a dungeon master's job is to elicit an emotional reaction. That's what we're there to
Mm,
do. Everything else, the rules, the story, the all of the framework is there to make a human being feel something, whatever it is: happy, sad, laugh, cry, terror, huzzah, whatever. Your only enemy is meh. And when you get tears out of a person, they are that present in the moment, and something is actually affecting them. And that's why I like that. I mean, again, it can be laughing so hard you're crying, like whatever. I'm just
yeah.
that's the moisture from the eyes is when I'm like, got him, got him. Yeah.
Are you still getting a good balance of some time getting to play, or have you been like, are you moving into forever DM mode?
The 2 games I played in consistently both just wrapped. LA by Night wrapped and Heroes of the Plane wrapped. So Freely is retired from
Yes,
continuous
another
play at
congrats.
least.
Sorry, I forgot to add that to
Oh,
our list, but a huge congrats on the finale there.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's nope, he got the girl, he got married, and he got to ride off into the sunset. I'll still play him for like charity games and stuff. But uh yeah, I mean, some other opportunities are coming up that I'll probably get to play though. So I'll probably still get to play some. You know what's wild? People would always ask, they were like, do you prefer DMing or playing? And I always would say I love both equally. And I do. And I didn't mean that to be disingenuous. But I've come to realize when given the choice, I pick DMing 100% of the time. I have
Mm.
never declined DMing ever. So I guess maybe maybe 51 to 49, 55-45 type thing. Maybe the little tilt in the slice, little tilt in the slice. Yeah.
I love that. When are you going to cross the will I eventually have a bookshelf full of hardcovers of original adventures by B. Dave?
Well, we're working on Into the Motherlands now. I'm the lead developer of Into the Motherlands. And I've contributed some things to some other games. We'll see. What's weird is I have not worked on any official WotC stuff yet. That's wild to me. I mean, I guess again, I've done the comic and the streams and stuff, but I mean, in terms of like contributing to the adventures, haven't got to do that yet. So maybe that'll happen at some point. I mean, because I've written like a bunch of stuff. I used to do like monthly adventures on my Patreon and all that stuff. So who knows? We'll never say never. We'll never say never.
Even more realms waiting to be conquered. Thank you so much for joining us today, B. Dave. This was, as always, just a blast. All
You
right.
have to put
I'm
my
throw-
whatever I write. You have to put up there by Crypto the Super Dog though on the bookshelf.
That's
Hmm.
yeah, thank you. Good spotting.
Hmm.
Very good. Nobody would believe me if it was like, which comic book movies you're excited about? And I'm like, they are making a Super Pets movie, and that is important. Um,
I can't quite make out if that is supposed to be Ace the Bat Hound next to him or not though. It's cut off. It's cut off. I see Crypto. I don't know if that's Ace.
that one's not Ace. That's a tiny Batgirl, and then a
Mm.
Hoppy the Marvel Bunny. And just for
Ah.
the full, there's a lot of good company going on there. Dark of Nate
Hmm.
has one more
Hmm.
question that I'm going to throw at you that you cannot answer probably, but I hope you
Okay.
will. Dark of Nate, Freely versus Thanato, who wins? Not necessarily combat.
Oh, Freely would smash him, and Freely would smash him for one reason and one reason only. Freely's level 20, the Nato was level 8. You know? Freely would run him over. Honestly, even at level 8, head to head, Freely probably still would run him over because those paladin smites add up quick. So, but yeah.
Excellent.
Although, if it was a battle of wits, the Nato wins 10 out of 10 times. Yeah. Also, thanks Dark and Nate for knowing my boys. Yeah.
Where can people find Invitation to Party and more of all of the many things that you are up to, B. Dave Walters?
G4, Twitch and YouTube, Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific. They are live. The first 4 episodes are up on G4, Twitch, and YouTube right now. And they are on television, on cable, on G4 Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific. You can find me all over the tweetagrams at bdavewalters. You can find my stuff wherever fine streaming content can be located. I basically live my life just waiting for Amy Dallen asking me to hang out. And then I come and I'm around her and I bask in her radiance for a time. And then I descend back into darkness. Yes.
If darkness can be defined as just dozens of the most premier, fascinating, entertaining, gorgeous, lavishly made streaming and other entertainments, then go back into that dark. We will get you out of the light immediately. We appreciate it as fans of D&D that you are bringing that torch to new places where it has maybe not yet had a chance to charm the assembled masses. We're really looking forward to seeing more of it, and we really appreciate you joining us on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was the way I look at it. I was talking to Mercer about this. Critical Role proved that people would watch this content on the internet, and that made it possible for all of us to do what we do. I'm hoping if we can prove that people will watch this content on television, it opens the door for everybody, and then it's game on. Who knows what we all get to do next? So I'm
It's
fighting for the users. It's like Tron.
truly, especially those of us who sort of remember, have vivid memories of earlier eras of this, the simple spark of joy of just we know how great it is and we wish that you knew how great it was, and finding out that it's like, yes, I mean, we were right, there's part of that, but also just the regular joy of like, you can see it. You can see how much fun it is and how you could take it into your own life and make your own wonderful memories with your friends. And I am grateful to every person in the chain of the like hundreds to thousands of people over the course of the now I'm on a soapbox, but like it's been amazing to watch this happen. Thank you for being a big part of it. I'm very excited about what the future holds on that front. And before I'm fully carried away, I want to remind everybody that if you are on D&D Beyond this week, I hope you've been enjoying our little adventure calendar. We had a mini calendar full of treats and things that I hope you will enjoy if you've been checking those out. Some of those are going to last, so please keep checking that out. If you are giving a gift this season, we brought back the gifting dice. If you give a gift, you get a gift. You get these real cute gift wrapped dice that you can roll on your character sheet if you're giving a gift this season. Tomorrow on the channel, we are going to have the finale of Battle for Beyond with Jasmine Bullard, the incredible Jasmine Bullard, DMing. Cannot wait for folks to get to put that in their eyeballs. We have a Jasper's Game Day game that we're going to be hosting this weekend that I hope folks will check out with some really, really fun players. And next time, next Tuesday is going to be the last D&D Beyond live for this year. And we are going to have a very special post-Battle for Beyond discussion with a few of the faces that you know and love that I cannot wait to get into as our many, many gifts keep arriving and being shared in the world of D&D. It makes me very, very happy and feels like a personal gift to me, which is, again, why I do these things.
Because
Purely
you are
selfish.
a gift to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for hanging out and watching, for sending those great questions. Thank you, mods, as always. And we will see you next time on D&D Beyond.
It's D&D.